amazing that every so often you come across a verse on the Parsha, and it explains something that you've been doing your entire life, but you realize you have not quite fully understood. Every day in the Shemona Esrei, at the beginning of the first bracha of Avos, we refer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as Gomel Chasodim Tovim. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he who performs kindnesses that are good. What do you mean kindnesses that are good? By definition, kindness is something that's beneficent in nature. By definition, it's good. It's imparting from the source that which one is not necessarily obligated to take leave of. So every kindness that we receive from anyone, it would appear to be all good. So listen to the pasuk. Im kesef talva esami, es ha'ani imach lo sihiyeh lo kanoshe lo zesimen olav neshech. Not if, explains Rashi, Sayin Chazal, but when you loan another member of Klal Yisrael, es ha'ani imach, says Rashi, citing the Medrash Tanchuma, not simply to be understood, you're loaning another person, a member of Klal Yisrael, who's impoverished amongst you, but rather, es ha'ani imach, another person who's poor with you. Hevi mistako ba'atzmacha ke'ilu ata ani. You have to do it in a fashion, when you're going to loan someone else money, you have to do it in a fashion that he won't feel to himself, oh my gosh, this person has so much more than I do. He's so much more successful than I do. Rather, he should understand that you realize that but for the grace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you could be in the very same situation, having to come onto the coattail of another's, asking for a handout. Es ha'ani imach, hevi mistakam ba'atzmacha ke'ilu ata ani. And then the pasuk continues, not only do you have to give it to him in that kind of a fashion, but lo sihiyeh lo kanosha, that even when the loan actually comes due, you're not permitted to walk by him as if you're his creditors, so that in fact, if he cannot be paid the loan as yet, he shouldn't feel rather small in nature. But you should walk by him as if you never made the loan in the first place. So ask Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, if that's the case, and you have to make the loan in a way that you yourself realize that you could have been in the same situation, and he has to understand that, and therefore you're not doing him the greatest tova in the world. And you have to give it to him in a fashion that even when it matures and becomes due, you have to walk by him as if you've never necessarily even loaned him the money. Then why does the pasuk continue? Asks Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, lo sesimen olav neshech. You should not place upon him neshech. You should not collect ribis. You should not collect interest from him. Because ribis, as we know, is like the bite of a snake. It's a very small hole made in the foot of the individual, but it starts to bleed out, and then it swells up, and it becomes what we would commonly refer to nowadays as compound interest, but not in his favor. Says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, obviously, if you have to give it to him in a fashion that he doesn't feel small in nature, and you're not even permitted to present yourself in front of him as a creditor, so obviously you're not permitted to collect interest. Explains Reb Chaim, Hava, loaning someone else, is a wonderful chesed, but it's understandable that a person could say to himself, I'm giving him something that I don't have to part with. So I'm making the loan of money to him, but it's okay if I get paid interest every so often. It's okay if I make a little bit off of it. After all, without me, he'd have to go to another loan institution. He'd have to pay perhaps a lot more interest. Or perhaps he wouldn't even have the kind of credit rating that he would even receive a loan from anyone else or from any bank or institution. So magiyali, zenena v'zenena, he's getting the loan, and I'm just going to get the loan back with a little bit of interest. Said Reb Chaim Shmulevitz Hatzal, that's not a chesed. Or it is a chesed, it is kindness, but it's not a complete kindness. It's not a full kindness. And if the world indeed rests upon three things, and one of them is Gemilas Chasodim, if you perform such kindnesses, you're chipping away at the leg of kindness that holds up the rest of the world. And the world and life itself will be rather wobbly in nature. It's not a full kindness. When we turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we are praising him, before we ask our bakashos, following it with gratitude, we turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and refer to Hashem Yisbarach as Gomel Chasodim Tovim, he who performs kindnesses that are all good. Me'alef v'yatov, from beginning to end, medafilin hearts with an entire heart. That's the way we're supposed to perform chasadim for others. And that's what the pasuk is telling us. When we make a loan to another individual, do it in a way that he could retain his sense of zich, retain his sense of self-esteem. Do it in a way that he realizes that you could be in the same boat. And you would want someone else to perform it on your behalf towards you. And do it in a way that you'll never present yourself as a creditor in front of him. And if you do so, then indeed, it will be a chesed tov, and we will be emulating, b'chol d'rachecha dayehu, we will be emulating the hatavos and the midos of Hashem Yisparach. Have a wonderful Shabbos.